Thank you for your service. Now I'll give you my backhand. My winner whizzes down the line. Benning. Weekly. Tennis. Live. Are you ready for it? Here we go.
All right, another episode of Betting Weekly Tennis Live here on the Bet Rivers Network. Mitch Michaels, Tim Dennis, all part of this extraordinary Bet Rivers Network. Download the app. Make sure you get in on the action. Make all your tennis bets. And, of course, follow the socials at Because We Win, the X account, Instagram, and YouTube. On this Wednesday, I'm your host, Mitch Michaels, alongside the gambling expert, Tim Dennis, on a super secret location here on this show. Nothing's going to stop us. Welcome aboard.
Yeah, hi Mitch. Hi. Yeah, for those of you regular viewers, you'll notice I'm not in my normal residence. I'm had a bit of a long day, bit of a struggle here. So we got stuck on the motorway. Actually, there was a lorry fire on the one of the motorways here in the UK, and I think our UK viewers will probably know all about sort of accidents on motorways and stuff. But yeah, it's been a long day and haven't managed to get home. So we're in a service station on the M4 on the way home at the moment. So yeah, stopping off. Nothing's going to stop this show happening anyway. So yeah, here we are.
The grind continues. We're at the end of the tennis season, so we're just fighting through it. But exciting action all across. And as I mentioned on Monday, we're starting to finally see some live matches during the window of the show, which is pretty cool. We've got two men's matches going on, one in Brussels, one in Stockholm. In Stockholm, literally as I finished that sentence, Tim, Cilic gets a break at love. He leads Casper Ruud 2-love, came in as a slight underdog in this one. As we welcome in all of our fans, we appreciate the comments, the questions. We'll try to do our best to get everything in, answer your questions. But in Stockholm, it's the wily veteran Cilic, Tim, up 2-love on Casper still early as he tries to consolidate, but he shoots to minus 195 on the Bet Rivers live line. Any thoughts or anything strange about Cilic taking a lead and potentially being a threat to win this outright?
I mean, outright, yeah, obviously he's going to have to come through this match first. Ruud is probably the key talking point here with this, obviously, up an early break. He's just, you would have thought of the 3 indoor tournaments that are going on, this one probably would have suited Ruud, probably the slowest conditions of the lot, maybe due to the balls they're using this week. But still, obviously, I know it's only early days, but yeah, like you say, down a break already, and Cilic already with a good opportunity here to press on and take a first set advantage.
The other match that I referenced taking place right now in Brussels is Francisco Comesana taking on Raphael Collignon, the local Belgian kid who is up a set, down love 30, trying to hold serve at 1-all in the second. But for Collignon, who's a huge favorite on the money line now, there's a lot of hype about him. There's a lot of discussion about how his ceiling could be. He's actually coached by fellow Belgian former player Steve Darcis. So this is someone I've been hearing about, Tim, and I'm wondering your perspective. Is this a real player going forward? Is this someone that could continue to rise, 23, and starting to hit his stride?
Yeah, I think so. That 23 is probably the sort of the age where these guys are really going to sort of come of age, if you like. And I watched him play Bergs yesterday, and a really good victory for him in straight sets. He managed to get it done yesterday. A little bit of a wobble at the end, but managed to come through in that tie break. And some of the points he was playing, it was really impressive from what I saw from Collignon yesterday. And Bergs maybe a little bit fatigued, obviously coming over from Shanghai perhaps, but still played some pretty decent tennis, Bergs, and Collignon certainly won that match more than Bergs lost it, I thought. So yeah, really impressive and certainly one to look out for.
Collignon, who beat Casper Ruud at the U.S. Open, that was his signature win of his career, lost in a challenger final recently to Martin Landaluce, the young Spanish talent prodigy as well. So something to monitor there, but we like to see young talent emerge, and maybe he could be the next one from Belgium. As we mosey along, it's been an interesting couple days, right, with tennis going on, the women's side especially, Tim, in Ningbo. It's a 500 level event. There's still a lot to be played for there. In Osaka, you have the 250 on the green courts, which is a little different. But the women's events have been kind of catching my eye. But what's caught your eye the last couple days here?
Yeah, maybe probably the biggest thing to talk about, perhaps the different conditions of each tournament. Obviously, it's a little bit quicker in Osaka compared to Ningbo, where it's perhaps just on a little bit on the slow side. And there's a few players that might sort of wish they were at the other tournaments perhaps. But obviously we saw Naomi Osaka come through in 3 sets there today. A little bit of a scare there against Lamens, but managed to get through. Perhaps a little bit issue in that third set. Sorry, I think she had a medical timeout and a bit of a possible knee injury and a bit of strapping now on the leg. So, but this is, she must be looking at this tournament now. So a tournament to lose, obviously, with Noskova getting beat there in the first round, and she should fancy going all the way here, I think.
We're going to talk about one match from Osaka, and it's Valentinova destroyed Diala. That's a player that I've got my eye on. That's one for sure. But big matchups, implications, right? The race on the women's side seems like it's more exciting. The final spots are still up for grab. My big talking point, Tim, is what is going on with Mira Andreeva, because it has not been good. And she lost again yesterday to Zhu. So you got to wonder what's happening, if it's fatigue, if it's just maybe she's dealing with something we don't know. She's still very young, which we forget a lot of times. But Mira Andreeva is not looking in proper form at all.
No, she's just, I think I was thinking about this the other day after I saw her lose to Siegmund. I think we probably do forget she's just a teenager, don't we? And she's obviously not living the normal life of a teenager. She's spending, I'd imagine, the majority of her time with her coach. That's who she pretty much spends most of her time each day with. And things are probably maybe just catching up with her, whether it's mentally, physically. Not sure about physically, but I think certainly mentally, perhaps after a long year, she's had a huge year, obviously winning 2000s. Still needs to make that next step up to slam level, but I think that's only a matter of time. But yeah, she's miles away at the moment. And she obviously another loss today. A big minus money shot to win that match today. And I think even when she won that first set against Siegmund last week, she was in tears during the set, and obviously she lost that second set, and then it was probably only going to see go one way in the third like it did. And I haven't actually seen her on court today, but whether there was any more sort of dramatics, whether she was upset again, I'm not so sure. But yeah, she looks complete burnout to me, and obviously she will be taking part in the finals, I'd imagine, unless she withdraws from that. But that's probably not. It wouldn't be a shock if she did, the way things are going.
She's not officially in yet, which is crazy to say. But there is a scenario, and the daily double that we're going to get to later involves some of the names there, but not winning matches recently opens the door. It'd be misfortune. A lot of players have to win in the point situation, but she hasn't officially qualified. Before we get to the bets, just want to let everybody know who has qualified. A lot of Americans there, but you have Sabalenka, who did clinch the year-end #1, so she's going to clinch that for the second straight year. You have Sabalenka, Iga, Coco, Anisimova, Pegula, Madison Keys are in. Andreeva's in the 7th spot, narrowly over Paulini, who's narrowly over Rybakina. So that's pretty much going to be it, Paulini, Rybakina, but there is a scenario where both of them, Tim, could pass Andreeva, and then she's an alternate. So storylines go up.
Maybe like we've just said, it wouldn't be the biggest shock to you if she went and kind of did a TFO, would it? And just said, you know what, I'm done for the year now. But obviously there's a lot of money on offer at these finals. And speaking of those players you just mentioned there, did you guys envisage having so many Americans in these finals at the start of the year? Great achievement.
No. I think the over-under would have been like 2.5, because Coco and Pegula seemed like there were locks going into the year. Could another one make it there? And then when Keys won, that pretty much put her in. You have to be outside of the top 20 to not go if you win a slam. So all those names in. It's pretty cool. Hope everybody got on Nigel, and I know you were on that plan too. You got on Anisimova to win Australia early on Bet Rivers before she won in China, because that number plummeted.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm still reeling a bit from the US Open final. That was sort of my big payday with Anisimova. But yeah, I still think that maybe she was a little bit of value for that US Open. Obviously, she's gone and won that tournament, and she seems to be. You look at sort of the way Andreeva is now, like we just mentioned. But obviously, you've got Anisimova there who had issues previously, and she seems to have got it completely right now, doesn't she? Wins that tournament, withdraws the next week, goes home. You can see on her socials she's spending family time relaxing and just recharging and doing things the right way, I guess. But there's no right or wrong way. I suppose it's each for their own. But you can certainly see with Andreeva the issues she's got, and Anisimova seems to have that pretty well figured out. So
we'll see where it goes. We'll see how this week goes as well with the bets that we have and the opportunity on the board. I don't know if we're going to get 1,000-to-1 champion like last week, but we'll see what's out there. That was maybe a lightning in a bottle by Vaturo, but
yeah, an amazing story, and something I doubt we'll ever see again in our lifetime anyway.
Really, really crazy playing his cousin in the final. Let's look at the men's matches first. We'll bounce around. The matchups that we have in Kazakhstan, Tim, I think are interesting too. There's a couple on the board I wanted to highlight, especially that one at the top, Alex Michelsen, another American who maybe hasn't been playing his best tennis recently. There's been some other Americans like Leonard Tien that have overshadowed him, but he's at a minus 177 price against Alexander Vukic. You have Darderi versus Machizuki. Darderi, the Italian, a favorite in that one. And then Flavio Cobolli, fellow Italian, is a sizable price favorite over James Duckworth. You can see all these lines on Bet Rivers as well. But the Michelsen match was interesting to me, Tim, because I do think he's someone still playing for something at the end of the year and by all accounts wants to finish full bore. Do you see value in that number, though, as he takes on an experienced veteran in Vukic?
I mean, yeah, but potentially he's obviously come through today, and these quick conditions should sort of play to his strengths. He's got his indoor hard court seasons, if you like, up and running in good fashion. And Vukic, a player that could probably cause him some problems. And with one thing to take away from Kazakhstan, it does look extremely quick there, doesn't it? Obviously, indoor hard, no conditions to worry about, and certainly a slick service and plenty of tie breaks being played. So perhaps maybe set one overs might be a way of looking at that game early on. It would be my lean probably in a match like that, I think.
I was trying to flip the other day too, right? I thought about this when Mukova, who lost yesterday, but she did win her first round match against Vandrusova in the women's tournament, which is different when it's outdoors. And but I do think this time end of the year I might flip it, Tim. I might think straight sets live is the play, because I think a lot of players, when they're down that set, especially if they've had a long year or battling with something, maybe they don't dig as deep as they would otherwise.
Yeah, no, that's a good way of looking at it, because you see these players, like you say, go up a set, and maybe some of them are sat in the chair at perhaps 1-0 down in the second set and thinking their minds starts to leave and go somewhere else. So maybe in play you might be looking at set 2 even unders, or just set 2 for the player who's won the first set to win the second set. Because I mean, or maybe even just under 2.5 sets, and then you've got both players on your side pre-game.
That's the best. That's like the best advice I have. The other might be just underdogs might be value, because this time of year you don't know, right? Like even Cobolli at 240, and the guy who, Tim, he was on one of the worst losing streaks that the sport had seen. I'm glad he turned it around, but he's been in a position where he's been hot and also cold. So
yeah, I thought the Duckworth line looked fairly interesting for there to me. I don't think he's had his serve broken yet this week. In coming through a couple of matches, and he obviously beat Diallo today, and he certainly not unbroken in that match. And 22.5. Yeah, first set overs would be where I was going there too, and maybe plus 185 in the money line. He's attuned to conditions here, and Cobolli, he's generally the slower the better for Cobolli. So Duckworth might look a bit of value there.
yeah, I was looking at that one too. I just think there's some value, and you could see maybe a first set over games if you think it's going to be a drawn out physical match. We mentioned, the live match is taking place as Comesana is up a break, as is Cilic. Second set, Comesana. First set early for Cilic. But in Brussels, we have a couple matches on the board. Felix is a huge favorite, also with Musetti. And it's interesting, those top two, Tim, because they're fighting for the finals. So there's the ATP race that's going on right now, and both of them are trying to keep up and play events and really in it to win it. But you see Felix a huge favorite over Dzumhur. Musetti Hanfmann, I do think, could be a little trickier. The line reflects that. Hanfmann has been crafty in the past. And then Bodek, who comes off of a win over Fonseca. Is this a letdown spot for him, the American, the Texas Longhorn, Elliot Spizzirri? But I just knew it going into the Bodek-Fonseca match. Like, Bodek gets up for matches against big names, big players, but maybe this is a spot where he doesn't bring it against a player that's not as highly regarded.
Yeah, we've seen this film before with Botic, shouldn't we? Sort of beat the players. He looks like he has very little chance of beating, and then when you expect him to win, that's where he comes unstuck. So you'd be a brave man to be getting too heavily involved with Botic when he's a short price. But yeah, interesting matches there tomorrow. Again, pretty quick there. Similar conditions to not quite the altitude of Kazakhstan, but fairly slick indoor hard court again. And can we just put that bracket up again? There was just one thing that just stood out to me there on the perhaps the Hanfmann has already had a game under his belt, and obviously one in 3 sets today. That 3.5 might look fair. And also we spoke about this yesterday. Obviously you've got Felix there coming from from Shanghai, along with Musetti, and they've had an extra day or so, and obviously they didn't quite go as far as some of the others in the tournament, but we saw them come unstuck. We obviously Zizou Bergs yesterday. I think Greek Sport, he looked extremely
Yeah.
tired just to look at to me, to
Mhm.
be honest with you. So, and I think we've got obviously Medvedev coming up soon too. So it'd be interesting to see these players that have come over to Shanghai. These guys have had a fraction more time, but yeah, still, I think it's certainly going to play a part.
The other match that's not on here. Actually, before we get to that though, Tim, I did want to ask you: do you look at how these players have done historically? I know each season, people are getting older and there might be injuries or motivation, but Felix has done well this time of year. Does that factor into how you think? Because maybe not as well as like you get to Basel and it's truly indoor and faster surfaces, but does his history play into any factor at all here?
Yeah, definitely. Because obviously, I think it was a few years ago now, we saw Felix win sort of 3 indoor hard comps on the trot. And he obviously looked in pretty decent form in that US Open, had his chances there with Sinner. And obviously looked pretty good in Shanghai, obviously, till he came unstuck with match that most people would thought he would have won there. But yeah, indoor, that's where all his big victories have come. And I think unfortunately we're not the only ones to sort of realise that, and
Yeah.
obviously with that decent form, he is a little bit short now. I thought at the start of the week coming here, just because he obviously looked pretty good in Shanghai, and maybe we got there a week too early with Felix. But
Yeah.
as far as the value goes, but yeah, he's certainly a player I want to have on side, even if it's not this week. It's certainly coming into certainly those French tournaments indoors as well.
He's looking good, playing well, married, feeling like life's going his way. So he's
Yeah,
enjoying it.
coming to his probably favourite part of the year as well,
Yeah.
in his favourite conditions. So yeah, he's certainly a player you want to be keeping on side, I think.
The only other match on the men's front from Brussels that wasn't on that graphic I wanted to ask you about was Fokina versus Giron. Giron is plus 140 on Bet Rivers. Davidovich Fokina minus 175. 2.5 is the number for games, and that over under at that 22.5. Pretty high number for the over under. But Giron is, I'd say, kind of thrived in the past. Tim, is safe to say, as a slight underdog. Do you see him as a viable option to cover or pull off the upset?
I certainly think he'll give him more of a game than he has in his previous 2 matches with Davidovich Fokina. Obviously, Davidovich Fokina, another obviously travelled, and Giron, he looked pretty good to me in his first match here, and yeah, I was quite impressed. And sometimes he's a player who struggles to quite get over the line, doesn't he, Giron?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
perhaps maybe obviously attuned to conditions as well. I might be looking to get with him in the first set in a match like this. I think obviously he's, like we say, attuned to those conditions, used to it, comfortable seeing the ball already, and Davidovich Fokina obviously yet to play a game here. So
Yeah.
yeah, something like the first set, a bit like with Collignon yesterday with Bergs. Yeah, maybe to get with him for that first set.
They haven't played in a few years. It was 2-0 Fokina. But yeah, 2025 has been an interesting year for Fokina. He's played well, still doesn't have that first title, came close on 2 occasions, and has had several big-time retirements as well. So we'll see where we go. As we roll along here on Betting Weekly Tennis Live, Mitch Michaels, Tim Dennis, all part of the Bet Rivers Network, breaking down all the great tournaments, all the great action, 2 big women's events, several big men's events. But switching to the women, and I want to go right into the daily double. We're due for a winner after our poor performance, my poor performance in particular on Monday. But Tim's going to get us right here. We're looking at the women. We're going right to China for these matchups, this 500 level event, which we mentioned there's stakes on the line. Alexandrova, Yuan, there's the money line there, big favorite, as well as Paulini, Kudermetova, a slightly less bigger favorite. Alexandrova breaks into the top 10. Paulini playing for her spot in the finals. Tim, we'll highlight the graphic, but just let's introduce to the viewers out there what today's daily double is.
Yeah, we'll start on the double. Just to speak over. Unfortunately, we can't do it worse. Well, fortunately, we can't do worse than we did yesterday, I'm afraid. But I watched Jasmine this morning. We were with her, and she took the first set 6-love, and then that was about as good as it got because she went on to lose the match, unfortunately. And Bolter went back to the Bolter we've seen many times before. She was poor today, not like she was against Noskova earlier in the week. So yeah, we'll try and up our game here, and we'll start with the Alexandrova game. I think the head-to-head is 1-1 between these two. But I think Alexandrova leaves the service points one, return points one. So it was 104.5 to 95.5 over those 2 meetings. I think one of them was on the hard courts, and one of them was actually on the Claire Roland Garros in the Olympics. Conditions should suit Yuan here a little bit more than Alexandrova, I think, with them being a little bit slow. And And I thought the +4.5 one at -110 looked fair enough to me, and that would have covered in both the matches they've played. Obviously, the one she won, and even the I think the game Alexandrova won was 7-6, 7-5. So that would have covered there. I think Wan's already had a match here. She won that in straight sets. Alexandra has come here from Wuhan. Yeah, I'd expect another close game between these two. Like we said,
Huh.
that game on the hard courts that Alexandrova took in straight sets, but that was a very, very close match. And even though she is a nice bit ahead on the service points, one return points, one totals, yeah, I think that 4.5 is with one sort of attuned to conditions and happy enough here. Yeah, I thought, yeah, -110 +4.5 looked fair to me, and that was going to be the first part we make it up with.
Okay. Well, she is someone that, as I mentioned, debuted in the top 10 this week, first time, so huge achievement. Yeah, still alive. I mentioned at the top of the show for the race, she's still in that spot. She basically has to win this tournament for it to happen, but her hopes are still alive to get to Saudi Arabia for the final. Like that pick, the other matchup, the other leg of this involves Jasmine Paolini, who beat Iga for the first time in 7 tries last week in Wuhan. She gets Veronika Kudermetova. There's your line, the money line odd, the spread game at 3.5, and the 21.5 over under. So how does leg 2 factor into this, Kudermetova versus Paolini?
Yeah, obviously Paolini, about a few of the players we spoke, she's still got quite a lot to play for. She's eked ahead of Rybakina there in the race, but she still needs, with Rybakina playing this week as well, she still needs to sort of stay on her guard. So yeah, Kudermetova leads the head-to-head 3-2, but I think the only game in the past 4 years was won this year in Cincinnati by Paolini in a fairly tight 3-set match. Paolini's had a really good Asian swing so far. She's only lost to Goff and Anisimova in 3 sets, which in that match really could have gone either way. And obviously she had an excellent victory against Iga there last week. Again, like we said, she's got a lot to play for. She'll be having one eye on these finals still. And I think Kudermetova, on the other hand, perhaps not the biggest amount of motivation at this time of year. I think she's only won 2 of her last 7 matches, and then those victories came against the world number 70 and the world number 90. So I thought Paolini to win this in straight sets at plus money was a going. I mean, I saw it was plus 120 earlier. If that price is still there, I thought that was fair enough. I thought obviously she got Goff beat her last week, but perhaps she had that big victory against Iga, and with Rybakina being out, maybe she thought she'd kind of done enough for the week, maybe just had that a little bit of a drop, but I'd expect her to get right back on form here. And I thought plus money for a straight sets victory was more than fair price.
It's plus 120 right now. So you can get plus 120 for the straight sets Paolini, who maybe turning a corner. And maybe it's that Billie Jean King Cup bump. Maybe it's the fact she's been riding high since defending the title with Italy there. But I like it. So we're looking at a plus money there, and we're looking at one more time on the game spread minus 118 for Alexandrova. What's the range, Tim, for that?
We're gonna go Wan plus 4.5. So
plus 4.5. My bad.
Yeah,
plus 4.5. Tighter.
Yeah.
Okay, so minus 110 win, and then straight sets Paolini.
Plus 120 minus 10. Yeah, that's perfect.
So we'll run the numbers here, but that's a good opportunity to back some of these big matches, a 500 level event, a lot going on there in that tournament. And the rest of the match is just throwing up the board, 2 big ones, Rybakina, Yastremska, and that's a pretty high line. I know Rybakina is playing well and doing very well, but Yastremska coming off a couple big wins. You also have McCartney Kessler taking on Samsonova, both minus money in that one. The spread's razor thin. I said the same thing the other day with Yastremska. Like, I don't know that I would predict her to win the match, but that is a pretty steep price for someone that I think can be streaky and give top players matches to.
Yeah, the first thing when I saw that these two were playing each other was made me think, well, this could go the distance, because they both can go from looking like absolute world beaters to looking like they couldn't beat the worst player in the world in the space of half an hour. These two. Yastremska obviously had that victory against Mboko the other day. She did well to come through in straight set. I think she was 2-5 down in the second set and managed to come through and take that in a tie break. And obviously she's had a game here, which Rybakina hasn't. I think Rybakina won both their games, both this year actually, one in Australia and one in Canada. But I think one of those matches went to 3 sets. And yeah, I thought 5.5 on the spread. I was surprised to see 5.5. I thought even 4.5 I might want to be getting with Yastremska, because it wouldn't be shocked me at all if this
No.
went 3 sets either, and if it does go 3 sets, that 5.5 should almost certainly cover. But maybe a little bit of a better play might be over 2.5 sets at plus
Yeah.
money, or over the total games.
I
Maybe.
yeah. I think the game total is good because it's only 20.5, and you could get the Rybak in a straight set win, right? Where it still hits. Like I think that's a real possibility.
Yeah, I mean a 7.5, 6.4 wouldn't shock you at
Hmm.
all, and obviously that would come in at 22, and
Hmm.
that would cash fairly comfortably for that 20.5. And yeah, Yastrzemska, like we said, she's not scared of beating big players. Took Goff out at Wimbledon early on this year, and she does possess a really high level and a good skill set. So plenty of reason for her to be confident going into that game against Rebecca tomorrow, who we all know is far from consistent.
Looking at the Osaka tournament, we got a couple interesting matchups on deck. You have Anne-Lee Sramkova, Mertens Valentinova, Buskova, Golubic, and Golfi Fernandez. Fernandez ran through Haley Baptiste after Baptiste kind of squandered an opportunity there in the early matchup. Buskova, Golubic, I mentioned. Anne-Lee's been playing some great tennis. She's a sizable favorite. But that match in the top right corner, Tim, Mertens and Valentinova, Valentinova's on my radar. Like I've been watching her. I know this is a tricky matchup. I think this is going to be one where she's going to have her work cut out for her, but thoroughly impressed with how she's been playing. Really the US Open onward. I like that price at 136, and I think this is a player that we're going to be talking about a lot in 2026.
Yeah. I hope you're right, and this could be a good stepping stone for that for Mertens. I don't think she's got anything to fear from Mertens here. I think she came through against Buxer in the first round, but I think she'll possess uh, this. This will be a bigger test for her for tomorrow for sure. And yeah, like you said, good stepping board at the US Open. And if you think she's a player going forward, then I certainly wouldn't put you off agreeing with that. And it's plus 130 odd tomorrow, was she?
Minus 136.
Minus 136.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No,
Yes.
18 years old, was the RG girls champ last year. But also Czech, so we know they just win slams out of nowhere, so that's good.
Yeah, don't
So,
they just?
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yes. Like, and look at the way Noskova's sort of going as well now.
yeah,
These players are sort of really ramping it up, and yeah, like we said, these teenagers, it doesn't seem to stop them, does it? They possess
no,
massive amounts of ability.
no, yeah. So that's somebody I was looking at in that matchup. But anything else on that board you're looking at from Osaka?
Buskova, I was impressed with her the other day. I think for those in the newsletter, we backed her to, I think, well, we didn't go with a handicap. I think we went with under games in the end. I think it was under 19.5 games. I think she was a comfortable 6-1, 6-1 winner. She's had a pretty good season. She obviously won the
Hmm.
title in her home country earlier on this year. And yeah, I was really impressed with her. Obviously, I think she's got a little bit of a topsy-turvy head to head with Golubic, but yeah, minus 240 is probably about the right price. So yeah, not really much value to look at there, and you'd expect Fernandez to come through against
Yeah.
Galfi. So
Mhm.
perhaps Shramkova, she's been playing some pretty decent tennis lately, plus money. Maybe I thought that might be a little bit tighter against Anne-Lee, but I think
Yeah.
Anne-Lee does hold a good head-to-head record against her.
Lee's playing very well. She's been playing her best tennis of her life. But this goes to our theory, right? Because was it a year ago or two? It's all blends together. But Sramkova went on that heater where she was just winning all these matches. So she's kind of an end of the year player too. So it's tough to beat
Yeah,
Ann Lee this time of year, though.
I think you're right about that. There is something about these players sort of at the end of the year, this time of year, or certainly in parts of the world where they seem to boost their better tennis. Obviously, look at Schneider coming through today against Mukova. Maybe she's finally finding her feet again. I think she goes well here, and she obviously won the tournament in Hong Kong around about this time last year. I think that's maybe in the next week or two.
Hmm.
So yeah, players that go well at this time of year and in this part of the world are certainly worth keeping on side. So yeah, go back through the not just their heads, but their previous times at this event and these parts of the world.
Yeah, the only other one I was going to bring up, it wasn't on any of our boards, but looking at the Naomi Osaka Jacqueline Christine match. Osaka's minus 250 on Bet Rivers. I believe Christine's plus 195. Our guy Subi brought up a good point in the chat. It's that Osaka had the injury scare. She had to confirm, I'm still playing, I'm still in it. But hey, if Osaka's banged up and you have someone on the other side of the net that's a solid player that's plus 195, I think there's something to consider. It could even be a live bet situation, but I would put Naomi on upset watch just based on the injury scare alone.
Yeah, and we've seen plenty of players retire this week. I was a little bit sort of kicking myself about not getting against Emma Raducanu there, because I could almost foresee exactly what was going to happen with her yesterday, I think it was, and which was exactly the same thing that happened with her last week. And yeah,
Yeah,
kick myself for not getting against her. But
yeah,
yeah, again, if Osaka, if she's not feeling comfortable there tomorrow, I don't think she'll
yeah.
think twice about pulling out. I don't think she'll want to, obviously. But I think these players, even now, they are probably
Mhm.
looking ahead to January in Australia, so they don't want to
Yeah.
jeopardize that by pulling off an injury in a tournament like this.
And the quick thoughts again, we'll pull this back up on D. Johnson's question here. My initial thought is that second one would be the one, the over 19 and a half total. I like that. I don't know about Mertens 12 games. I kind of talked up Valentinova, but and I'm kind of indifferent on the last one. What are your thoughts, Tim, on those three questions?
So we've got Mertens 12 total games won. I guess you just have to have a look with those.
Mhm.
I prefer looking at those kind of 11.5 maybe rather than the sort
Mm.
of, because then, I mean, if it maybe that bet is over 11.5, I'm not sure, but yeah, because then you obviously, if they do win in straight sets, you're going to cover that, and you'd like to think if the game goes three, even if they lose, you might end up covering that
Yeah.
total too. Excuse me. And Bushkova Golubic, like we said, their head to head has been a little bit topsy turvy. But yeah, I was impressed with Bushkova yesterday. So I'm not. Don't let me put you off, Johnson. But yeah, I just yeah, I wouldn't. I was impressed with Buskova, so it wouldn't be a shock if she went and did it well. But that 19 and a half, that was the game in her first line, and I think Golubic will possess more of a danger to her than her first round opponent. So yeah, if you like that, yeah, please don't let me put you off. But I was impressed with Buskova. Is probably my opinion there, to be honest with you. So yeah,
We'll
that's
see
probably what I'd say.
We'll see what ends up happening. We have a lot of live tennis, going on in these windows. We've got Comesana about to win set 2. Cilic is over at Collignon. We got Cilic, who is doing very well in set 1 against Casper Ruud. There's really opportunities here. And you have the future market on Bet Rivers right now on Almaty, and it's Medvedev followed by Khachanov. So futures are a little tougher to play, but this time of year, Tim. But maybe Karen Khachanov, or maybe there's a longer shot like last week that's just going to win again.
Yeah, keep your eyes out. I think that Medvedev gets his tournament started tomorrow. But yeah, for a guy that hasn't won a tournament for many months now, many years even, or a couple of years, do you want to be getting involved at Medvedev at such a short price? Like we said, another player having to come across from Shanghai in completely different conditions. But maybe these conditions should suit him a little bit better there. He likes a quick surface. So, but yeah, short enough, isn't he? I think Medvedev.
Yeah. Maybe based on what we're seeing or what we're hearing in the chat as well, Cilic is underarm serving his way to this win. So he's trying to
Okay,
evolve at age 37.
yeah, I must have to have a look at that. I'm not sure Ruud will be overly impressed with that,
It could be
I think
Ruud's return position too. Like if he's too far back, just underarm
yeah,
serving.
maybe yeah, absolutely yeah. If the guy's standing pretty much behind the backboards, yeah, just like little drop shot underarm serve, yeah, why not?
One more time for everyone watching and listening, Betting Weekly Tennis Live, the Daily Double, Tim's Daily Double involves these two matches. Yuan to cover the game spread plus 4.5 at -110, and the Paulina Kudermetova bet. His bet on that one is Paulina in straight sets, which is plus 120, all on Bet Rivers. Tim, by my calculations, that's a cool plus 320 payout.
Okay, yeah, hopefully we won't have any sort of 6-love first sets losers. That would be a bit of a kick in the teeth. But yeah, we're due one, so hopefully we can get this tied up tomorrow.
Yeah, we're really hopeful on that one. But no, it's been great, Tim. This has been a fun episode. Any final thoughts before we bid adieu?
No, I think that's pretty much it covered. Yeah, it's probably time for me to sort of hit back on the road and try and make my way home if I can. Yeah, it's been a bit of a long stretch, but we got this done today, guys. And yeah, thanks for watching and thanks for listening.
We're always in it for the viewers who we appreciate. Rain, snow, traffic problems, does not matter. We're back busy, and yeah, we've got you. So really appreciate everybody out there for watching, getting it on the chat. Reminder, download the Bet Rivers app if you haven't already to make these bets, to get in on the action, all your tennis bets, all the bets and all the sports you want. Betting Weekly Tennis Live is 1 o'clock Eastern time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all through the season. So there's so much more. There's so much great content on this network. Make sure you support all the shows. You download Bet Rivers. You follow the social channels at Because We Win, the X account, Instagram, and YouTube. This has been a great show for Tim Dennis. I'm Mitch Michaels. Thanks everybody out there. This was Betting Weekly Tennis Live. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the tennis, everyone.